I've got a berry in my hand that is better than a third pure soap by weight. It grows wild on a tree in the creek bottoms of Oklahoma. It drops by the bushel every fall, and nobody ever charged me a dime for it. So how did we end up paying $25 a jug for something that falls off a tree? Today, I'll show you the 3 plants our people washed with for free. And then I'll show you the bucket in my laundry room that costs about $6 and lasts my house a whole year. The tree is called Western soapberry, and the Latin name the botanists gave it is sapindus, which comes straight from the Latin word for soap. They named the whole family after what it does. In fall, it hangs full of little amber berries about the size of a marble, and if you crush a handful of those berries in warm water and work them between your palms, you will get lather, real lather, on your hands out of a tree with nothing added to it. I'm Wes Kingfisher. I'm 64 years old. I'm of Cherokee heritage, and I was raised by my grandmother Ada in the hills of eastern Oklahoma, where I still live today. She taught me the plants in the kitchen. My grandfather and uncles taught me the woods, and 40 years on the powwow trail taught me the rest. From the northern plains to the desert southwest. The old ones never wrote any of this down. I'm telling it to you before it's gone. So let me start with that tree because it grows in bottomland woods across south central Oklahoma up into Kansas and southwest Missouri and down through Texas into the desert country. The Forest Service's own write-up on that tree puts those berries at right around 37% saponin. Saponin is the soap. It is a compound the tree makes to keep insects off itself, and it does the exact same job in your wash water that the stuff in the plastic jug does, which is to grab hold of grease and dirt and let the water carry it away. Our people crushed those berries for soap, and so did the settlers who came after, and in parts of Mexico they still wash clothes with them today. Now, I have to teach you the tree before I let you go pick anything, because there is a look-alike, and this one matters. The tree that fools people is Chinaberry. Chinaberry came here from Asia as a yard tree. It escaped, and now it grows in the same fence rows and creek bottoms in a lot of the same country. Both trees hang on to yellow fruit through the winter, which is exactly when you would be out looking. Here is how you tell them apart, and I want you to remember 2 things. First, hold a berry up to the light. Soapberry fruit is translucent amber, and you can see the dark seeds sitting inside it like a shadow. Chinaberry fruit is a dull, opaque yellow, and you cannot see through it at all. Second, look at the leaf. Soapberry has a long leaf divided once into smooth, lance-shaped leaflets with no teeth on the edges. Chinaberry has a leaf divided twice into smaller leaflets with jagged, toothed edges. And when you crush those leaves, they smell musky. That is not a small difference to get wrong. Chinaberry fruit carries a set of toxins that the Texas A and M range plant people list as having poisoned cattle, sheep, goats, hogs, dogs, poultry, and human beings. So, translucent amber and once divided smooth leaves means soapberry. Dull, opaque yellow and twice divided toothed leaves means walk away. Now that right there is 1 page out of a book I put together, and I'll tell you why. Everything I just taught you about that tree came to me by voice. Nobody ever handed my grandmother a book. Chains like that got broken in this country, and when one breaks, the knowledge doesn't go into a library, it just goes. So I wrote it out. It's called The Native American Way, 101 remedies, skills, and recipes that kept my people alive for 10,000 years. The plants, Ada's teas and salves, the wild foods, putting up winter food and fire and shelter and water, all written plain enough that you can actually do it. $17, marked down from $47, and it will outlast 3 jugs of detergent. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap and it will take you straight to the book. And if you're watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. Now, the soapberry is the tree on my ground. But the plant that taught me the most about this is one our people out west showed me, and it beats the berry on lather. Out in the desert, southwest, and up onto the plains, you have yucca. Stiff sword-shaped leaves coming out of the ground in a rosette, sharp on the ends with a tall stalk of cream-colored bells on it in early summer. The soap is not in the leaves, and it is not in the flowers. It's down in the root, and in the soapweed yuccas. That root is about as concentrated in saponin as anything that grows on this continent. The Spanish name for it is a mole, and the way you use it has not changed. You dig a piece of root. You do not need the whole plant. And I want you to take a piece off the side and leave the crown to grow. Peel the brown bark off it. What's underneath is white and fibrous, and you pound it or shred it, and then you work it in a bowl of warm water with your hands. Inside a minute, you've got a bowl of suds. Our people up in the Pueblo country and out on the Navajo country washed hair with that, washed wool with it before dyeing, and washed clothes with it. And the education people at the Fort Selden historic site in New Mexico put it plainly. Until commercial soap showed up, plants were the only soap the indigenous people of New Mexico and Arizona had. And the Spanish who settled there learned it and used it too. Understand what that means. That is not a substitute for soap. That was soap for everybody in that country for thousands of years, and it worked well enough that the newcomers dropped their own way of doing it and picked up ours. Now the third one is the one most of you can actually walk out and find this week. And I'm going to be straight with you about it because I will not pass off something as ours when it isn't. It's called soapwort. The other name on it is bouncing bet. It's a knee-high plant with opposite oval leaves and clusters of pale pink 5-petaled flowers that smell sweet in the evening, and it blooms from about June clear into October. You will find it on roadsides, on old home places, along railroad grades, in ditches, in big spreading patches, because it runs on underground roots. That plant is not from here. It came from Europe. The settlers brought the seed with them on purpose, and it got loose and went wild across most of the United States. And the name tells you exactly what they brought it for, because bouncing bet was an old English nickname for a washerwoman, the one bobbing up and down over the tub. They carried their laundry soap over in a seed packet. You use the leaves and the root. Take a good double handful of leaves or a few inches of root, put it in a pot of water, simmer it gently for about 15 or 20 minutes, then strain it. What you pour off is a slick, slightly green liquid, and that goes in the machine with your load. It is mild enough that the herbal reference books still list it for brightening and cleaning delicate fabric, the kind of old cloth that anything modern would eat right through. One warning, and I'll move on. Don't eat any of these. Not the berries, not the root, not the leaves. Saponin is a soap, and a soap in your stomach does exactly what you'd expect a soap to do. The soapberry can also raise a rash on some people's hands, so if you're going to crush a big batch, wear gloves the first time and see how your skin takes it. So here's the detail almost everybody misses, and it explains this whole video. All three of those plants are doing the identical thing, and it has a name. The word is saponin. It comes from saponaria, which is the Latin name of soapwort, which comes from sapo, which is Latin for soap. The chemists who named that compound in the 1800s named it after the plant the washerwomen were already using. The word soap is sitting inside the plant's name, and a saponin is a surfactant, which is a 50-cent word for a molecule with two ends that don't get along. One end wants water, the other end wants grease. So it grabs the bacon fat off your shirt with one end, holds the water with the other, and lets your machine rinse the whole mess down the drain. That is the entire trick. That is what you're buying in the jug. The plant has been making it free for as long as there have been plants and insects arguing with each other. Which brings me to a question worth sitting with for a second. If that's all cleaning is, why has nobody ever run a commercial telling you about the tree in the creek bottom? And the answer is not sinister, it's just arithmetic. There is no money in a plant that grows free on public land and drops a bushel of soap in the ditch every October. You cannot patent it, you cannot put a barcode on it, and you cannot ship it. So it never got advertised, and one generation stopped telling the next. And here we are. If you go out this week and find any one of these three, come back and tell me what you found and what state you're in. I read every single one of them. Watto, my friends. That means thank you. Now, all of that gets you soap. But soap alone was never how the old ones did the heavy washing, and this next part is what actually gets you to the bucket. Go stand at the ash pile behind a wood stove. Hardwood ash, oak and hickory, the good stuff. Put those ashes in a barrel with a few holes and some straw in the bottom. Pour water in slow at the top and let it work its way through and drip out the bottom into a pot. What comes out is not ash water, it's lye water. And it is one of the most useful things anybody on this continent ever made. That was in constant use. Ash water is what took the hull off the corn to make hominy. And that same process is what unlocks the nutrition in corn so it can carry a people through winter. Ash water is what soaked a deer hide before scraping, because the alkali breaks down the bonds and the hair slips, and ash water is what they washed with. The old word for it in the laundry was bucking, soaking cloth in lye water, and it cut the dirt, cut the grease, and pulled the lanolin out of wool the way nothing else would. So now you have got both halves of cleaning sitting in front of a fire. You have got the plant that makes suds, and you have got the ash that eats grease. Take that ash water, cook it down with rendered fat in an iron pot, and the two things turn into a third thing entirely. That is soap. Fat plus ash. That is the whole formula, and it is the same formula in every bar sold today. And here is where this story takes a turn nobody expects, because we can put a date on when America stopped washing with that and started buying the jug. The American Cleaning Institute keeps the timeline, and it goes back further than you'd think. Clay cylinders out of Babylon, dated to about 2,800 years before Christ, have writing on them that translates to fats boiled with ashes. 4,800 years ago, on the other side of the world, somebody wrote down the same recipe a woman in these hills was still using when my grandmother was a girl. The Romans had a story about a Mount Sapo where rain washed animal fat and wood ash down the hill together, and people noticed the washing went easier down at the bottom of that hill. Fat and ash on two continents, thousands of years apart. Then in 1791, a French chemist patented a process for making soda ash out of common salt. And I want you to catch what happened there, because it's the hinge. Soda ash is the alkali. Up to that morning, the only way to get it was to burn wood and leach the ashes, which anybody with a fire could do for nothing. After that morning, you could manufacture it in a plant, in quantity, and sell it. Nobody patented the ash pile. Somebody patented the replacement for the ash pile. And soap making stayed essentially the same right up until 1916. That year, and again in the Second War, Germany could not get animal and vegetable fat because the fat was needed elsewhere. So German chemists went and built a cleaner out of things that were not fat at all. They synthesized it. The first ones went out under the name Nicol, and they were only fair at washing, but the door was open. That is the moment detergent is born, and it is born as a wartime substitute for soap. Read the label on whatever is sitting on your machine right now. Most of what we still call soap in this country is detergent, and detergent has only been on this earth for about 100 years now. I'm not going to stand here and tell you the chemists were wrong, because they weren't. And here's the honest reason detergent won. Soap has a real flaw. Drop real soap into hard water, the kind with calcium and minerals in it, and the soap reacts with those minerals and makes curd. That's the gray ring in the tub, the film on the glasses, the dinginess that creeps into white shirts over a year of washing. Detergent doesn't do that. It shrugs the minerals off and works in cold water besides. So, the industry did not lie to anybody. It solved a real problem. But look at what it cost you. You traded a thing you could make out of a fire and a plant for a thing that only comes out of a factory in a jug at whatever price the shelf says this month. And the flaw they solved is a flaw you can solve yourself in your own laundry room for pennies. That is the whole reason I have got a bucket instead of a jug. And that is what I'm showing you now. There are 3 things in my bucket: bar soap, washing soda, and borax. That's it. 3 boxes off one shelf, and I'll take them one at a time. Because if you understand what each one does, you will never have to look up a recipe again. The bar soap is the surfactant. It is the yucca root. It's the part that grabs grease and holds it in the water. You can use a laundry bar or a plain hard bar of Castile or ivory, and the harder and plainer the bar, the better it grates and the less perfume ends up in your rinse water. Washing soda is the one I want you to look at closely, because washing soda is the ash pile. The chemical name is sodium carbonate. The industrial name for sodium carbonate is soda ash. Same substance, and it is the exact alkali that came out of the leach barrel behind the wood stove. It is also, and this is the part I love, listed right in the reference books as one of the builders that soap and detergent makers put in their products to make them clean harder. So the ash pot is in the yellow box on the shelf. The ash pot is in the jug, and the ash pot has been in every batch of laundry this continent has washed for a very long time. It never left. It just got a label and a price. What it does in your machine is 2 jobs at once. It softens the water so the minerals stop making curd, which fixes the exact problem I just told you detergent was invented to fix. And it raises the alkalinity, which is what actually cuts through body oil and cooking grease. Now, if you cannot find washing soda at your store, and a lot of people can't anymore, you can make it. Take plain baking soda, which is on every shelf in America, spread it about 1/2 inch deep on a sheet pan, and put it in a 400-degree oven for 30 minutes to an hour, stirring it once. 400 degrees, 30 minutes to an hour. The heat drives the water and the carbon dioxide out of it, and what is left in the pan is sodium carbonate. You'll see it change. Baking soda is soft and fluffy and clumps up, and washing soda comes out dry and grainy and pours like sand. When it looks and feels like sand, it's done. Borax is the 3rd one, and it's a mineral. It gets dug out of dry lake beds, mostly in Turkey and out in California, and it's been in American laundry rooms for over 100 years. In the wash, it softens water, it helps with odor, and it holds the water at the alkalinity where the soap does its best work. Straight talk on safety, because I'd tell my own family this. Borax and washing soda are both cleaning chemicals, not seasonings. Don't let anybody talk you into eating or drinking either one. Wear gloves when you're mixing a batch. Don't stand there breathing the dust. And keep the buckets up high and away from children and dogs the same way you'd keep any cleaner. If you get it on your hands, rinse them off. Handled the ordinary way, with ordinary sense. They've been in laundry rooms for generations. All right, here's the recipe, and I'm going to give you the numbers twice. 1 bar of soap, 1 cup of washing soda, 1 cup of borax. Grate the bar of soap on the fine side of a cheese grater, or run it through a food processor, and the finer you get it, the better it dissolves in cold water. Put the grated soap in a bowl with 1 cup of washing soda and 1 cup of borax. Stir it for a couple of minutes until it looks like one thing instead of 3. Pour it into a bucket or a jar with a lid and put a tablespoon measure in it. 1 bar, 1 cup, 1 cup. And you use 1 tablespoon per load. 2 tablespoons if it's a big load, or the boys have been working outside in it. That is a tablespoon. Not a cup, not a scoop, a tablespoon. Everybody's instinct is to use more, and using more is what causes every problem people complain about. The powder wants to go in the drum, right on the bottom, before the clothes go in, not in the little drawer, because it dissolves better sitting in the water than sitting in a tray. Now the arithmetic, and this is the part that made me switch. The big jug on the end cap runs somewhere around $25, and the label on the one I looked at says 107 loads. My 3 boxes come to about $6 at my store. Now go price both of those at your own store, because prices move and my shelf is not your shelf. But 1 cup out of a 55-ounce box of washing soda is a small fraction of the box. Same with the borax. You don't use the boxes up in a batch, you use a corner of them, and you make batch after batch out of the same 3 boxes. That's the $6 against a year. And it is not a trick and it is not a coupon. It's just that you're buying the parts instead of buying the package, the jug, the marketing, and the truck that hauled the water in it. Because that's the other thing worth knowing. A jug of liquid detergent is mostly water. You're paying freight on water that already comes out of your own faucet. Now, I promised you straight talk, so let me give you the honest limits, because there are some, and the people selling you a dream about this, leave them out. This is soap, not detergent, which means the hard water problem from earlier is your problem now. If you've got hard water, and a lot of the country does, you'll want a little more washing soda in the mix, or a half cup of white vinegar in the rinse cycle, which cuts the film and softens the clothes at the same time. Vinegar in the rinse, not in the wash, because vinegar and soap fight each other if they meet too early. Second, this is a low suds powder, and that's on purpose. If you've got a high efficiency machine, low suds is what you want, but stay honest about the tablespoon and run a hot cycle with 2 cups of vinegar through the empty machine once a month to keep the lines clear. Third, it is not a stain remover, and it is not bleach. Heavy grease and set-in stains want to be treated before they go in. Rub a little of the wet bar right on the spot, let it sit a few minutes, then wash it. That's how my grandmother did every collar in the house. And fourth, go easy on wool and silk. Alkali is hard on animal fiber, which is exactly why the old people used lye water to strip lanolin out of wool on purpose. If you're washing a wool blanket, that's a job for plain soapwort water or a wool-specific soap, and no washing soda at all. So look at what all of this actually adds up to, because it's one picture. Everything that cleans a shirt has to do 3 jobs. Something has to grab the grease. Something has to soften the water so the minerals quit fighting you. And something has to raise the alkalinity so the grease lets go in the first place. The old ones did all 3 with what the land gave them. The berry or the yucca root did the grabbing. The wood ash did the softening and the alkalinity out of a fire they were burning anyway. Neither one of those cost a dime because the fire was already lit and the plant was already standing there. Your bucket does the same 3 jobs with the same 3 chemistries. The grated bar does the grabbing. The washing soda is the ash. The borax holds it all where it works. And that $25 jug on the end cap is doing those exact same 3 jobs too. It's just doing them with a wartime substitute for soap in a plastic bottle, mostly full of water, with a marketing budget on top. So don't let anybody tell you that making your own is going backwards. It is the same 3 chemistries the jug is using, bought as parts instead of as a package. And the berry I held up at the start of this video has been sitting in that creek bottom doing this exact job the whole time, every fall, whether anybody remembered it or not. That's the kind of thing my grandmother handed me for free, and I wrote every one of them down in the Native American way. 101 remedies, skills, and recipes that kept my people alive for 10,000 years. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera and point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up. Give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you will enjoy the video right now on screen even more. I can assure you on that. Click it right now, my friend.